Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are here with Andrew Mellen and a wonderful course presented to you. It's Unstuff Your Life. It's a 5-week course that we brought back this year, back by popular demand. Springtime is always a great time to sign in and enroll into one of these courses to, like it says, unstuff your life. So if you don't know much about Andrew Mellen, he is called the most organized man in America. Mellen is a professional organizer, speaker, and coach, and is featured in the Oprah Magazine, Martha Stewart Living, the New York Times, and other publications. He has worked with numerous Fortune 500 companies and nonprofits and has helped more than 100,000 people get and stay organized. He is also the author of 2 books, Unstuff Your Life, Kick the Clutter Habit, and Completely Organize Your Life for Good. Also, The Most Organized Man in America's Guide to Moving. We're super excited to have Andrew here for this free introduction and session. If you're interested in the course that's going to be following this session, we'll have more information about that, and that will be starting next week, but Andrew will put up a slide for that. And before I let him take it away, again, thanks for joining us today. My name is Nancy Walters. I'm the Executive Director of the La Jolla Community Center, and if this is your first time joining us, thanks for being here. Please check out more of our programs that we have available on our website. It's ljcommunitycenter.org, and Andrew will also have that link on one of the slides, so you'll have that information there, but please come back and join us. Again, thanks for being here, and I'll let Andrew take it away. Sorry, one more thing. We will have a Q&A at the end of Andrew's slides, so we will have an opportunity for you to ask questions. And this is being recorded, so we will send this out to you again, so you can review it, send it to friends if you'd like, and hopefully you sign up for the course. So thanks again for being here. Take it away, Andrew.
Thanks, Nancy. Thanks. And welcome again, everybody, for being here. I'm delighted. And even if you're watching this after the fact, if you weren't with us live, I'm delighted that you're checking out the class, and I hope that you'll choose to join us for these 5 weeks. We're really going to do everything we can to support you in getting unstuffed. And as Nancy said, spring cleaning is a perfect time. There's never a bad time to get organized, but it's nice when the calendar lines up. So the first thing I'm going to do is just share a little bit of housekeeping, which is it would be great if you, even though you're muted, if you didn't have any phones on that are going to beep or chirp at you. So if you could silence your mobile phone so that you're not going to be distracted for the next 30 to 40 minutes that we're going to spend together. And also you might want to, if you're watching online and you're in front of a computer in particular, just close down any other browser windows so that it's less about me having your undivided attention and more about you being able to concentrate. One of the classes that I teach, calling BS on Busy, we look at the 7 deadly time thieves, and one of them is interruptions. And so the more that you can support yourself in staying present for this experience, the more you're going to get out of it, and the easier it'll be for you to determine whether this is a good fit for you and you want to come forward and sign up for the class. I mean, of course, I hope that you do, because I know the impact that we'll have. And given that we've already done this once before here at LJCC, I know the impact that the community members have already experienced. So I'm rooting for you to get the same kinds of results. Now, I'm also going to show you that I have an agenda for today, because I have a 0 tolerance for meetings without agendas. It's another thing that I teach in calling BS on Busy. A meeting without agenda is not it's not a meeting. I don't know what it is. It could be a coffee meeting, but it's not a meeting with an agenda. And even though this isn't technically an agenda, a meeting, I still have an agenda because I like to know where we're going to go. Now we're going to do something which is probably the most woo-woo thing that we'll do the entire morning, and probably over the entire 5 weeks that we'll be together during the Unstuff Your Life class. And we're going to take 3 breaths together. The brain science tells us that in as few as 3 breaths, we can reset our central nervous system. So if you have had the experience in the past of trying to get organized, trying to do anything really, but we'll keep it pretty focused to organization and your efforts to get and stay organized here. And if you've had those kinds of days where it starts out great, and then partway through the day, you start to get fatigued, you're overwhelmed, you're stressed out, things aren't going the way you want them to go, you can just double down on that frustration and just, grit your teeth and feel kind of miserable and limp towards the end of the day. Or you could literally just take 3 deep breaths, focusing only on your breath in those, it's not even really a minute, but in that passage of time, and you will reset your central nervous system. It's almost like rebooting your phone or your computer. You get a fresh start and you can do this over. You don't only get 1 per day, so you can do this repeatedly. So just to ground us all, so that we're all here physically, even though we're in lots of different places, that we're all together right here. We're going to take 3 breaths together. And I do this on a count of 5 in, we hold for 1, and we do it on a count of 5 out. And I'm going to breathe with you. And you'll be amazed at how it starts to ground us all, and we feel like we're in the same place because we're breathing together. So if you need to shake it out a little bit, you can do that. Get yourself comfortable. And here we go. Works every time. We are all in sync. It's like magic. Now I'm going to give you 15 seconds on the clock just to set your intention. What do you want to take away from this? Why did you show up this morning? I mean, and if you're watching it after the fact, I don't know what time you're watching it, but why did you choose to watch this video and to be here with me, and by extension, the La Jolla Community Center? What do you want to take away? And the more specific you can be in your intention, the more likely it is that we're going to satisfy that intention. So the clock is running, just 15 seconds. Great, there you go. And now we're going to do a little show and tell. I want you to, I don't know what's going on in your home, right? You do because you're there, but I don't. So I'm going to show you, I've been doing this work for over 24 years as a professional organizer. I have clients literally all over the world. I'm currently working with a woman in Japan. You'd think that she might be working with Marie Kondo, but she's working with me. It just cracks me up. But I have clients all over the world, and I'm going to show you a few extreme cases so that whatever's going on in your own home, hopefully it will diffuse some of the intensity and the sense of overwhelm. You can see that, I mean, and this could be what you're living with, and if it is, also you can know that it's nothing that I haven't already seen or dealt with. I mean, the particular papers that are in your home, I might not have seen, but I've seen papers in people's homes. I've seen things. So I've seen everything that you could possibly imagine, and probably some things that you couldn't. So this is an apartment in Manhattan, and this is what it looked like when I showed up. So just if this is what you're dealing with, I've dealt with it before, and if this isn't what you're dealing with, you're ahead of the game. So that was a before shot. This is a different apartment. This is a different apartment in Manhattan, and then this was an office, a home office in Washington, D.C. Pretty wild, huh? Not feeling a little better, a little less about what you're dealing with at home, a little less intense than this. Now, this was a garage. This was on the Jersey Shore. And this is what it looked like when I got there. And this is what it looked like when I left. You could actually park a car in the garage. This was an office. And I want you to I want to draw your attention to the upper right-hand corner of this picture. If you can see, there's a little bit of cat wallpaper poking out of the upper right-hand corner. So just remember that wallpaper, and I'll show you what it looked like. This is what it looked like when I walked in. So this woman was a professor at a college in Boston. And she was also she is, I mean, she's still alive. She's also a metalsmith, a jewelry maker, fine jewelry maker. So this is what it looked like when I showed up. This is what it looked like when I left. So lots more cat wallpaper, and everything is neatly organized, and she can find anything that she's looking for in 30 seconds or less. Changed her life completely. This was a house in Pennsylvania, and this is what it looked like when I got there. And this is what it looked like when I left. So as you can see, I've touched a lot of different kinds of things, and I've solved a lot of problems with a lot of people. As Nancy said, it's been actually over 150,000 people and businesses. And some of the businesses I'm sure you've heard of, like the Metropolitan Museum of Art, or the New York Mets baseball team, Goldman Sachs, American Express, Bank of America. These are some of my clients. So you're in good hands. And I've worked with lots of individuals in their homes and their offices as well. So I have an interesting and broad resource pool to pull from, because I've worked in both B2B or business settings and B2C or residential settings. I have a very broad skill set after these 24 plus years that I've been working as a professional organizer. Now we're going to talk about just a few costs of disorganization, because I like to ground this work in the math. Now, if you already have a story, if that just kicks up a story back here in your brain of like, oh, I'm not good at math, I'm very creative, but I suck at math. This is what I want you to understand. The math that I'm talking about is 2-digit math. If you can buy a pack of chewing gum and count your change back from $1, you can do the math that I'm talking about. We're not talking about quantum physics. We're not talking about trigonometry. We're not talking about calculus. We're talking about simple arithmetic. There are 60 minutes in an hour. There are 24 hours in a day, and there are 168 hours in a week. So this is what we're talking about managing. And what you'll discover in our time together, both this morning, and then if you choose to come forward and take the class with me, is that time management and organization are completely linked up with each other. If you have lousy time management, I don't care how organized you are, you're still losing time, wasting time in your day. And conversely, if you're super on time and real driven and your time management is good, but you can't find your car keys or your mobile phone or your living will or whatever it is that you might be looking for, you're undercutting your ability, and you're also wasting time. It's just leaking out of your day, and by extension, your week and your month and your life. So I really want to, in a loving and expansive way, invite you to look at how you're spending your time, how you're interacting with stuff, how you're thinking about stuff, feeling about stuff, so that we can get through these obstacles and create order for you so that you can live. You can do anything that you want to do. I've seen amazing things happen in clients and students' lives, and I've yet to meet the exception. So you are not my exception. I don't know you, but I feel confident that you aren't the person I can't help. It's a double negative, but you know what I'm saying. The first statistic I'm going to share with you is that 80% of the information that we're holding on to we'll never use again. And again, this could really kick up story. You could be thinking, oh, Andrew, you don't know me. I'm an amazing researcher. The papers that I've been ripping out of magazines, the things that I've been holding on to will definitely come in handy someday. I'm not sure when, but I am the exception to your rule. And as I said, I've been doing this work for 24 plus years. I've worked with Nobel Peace Prize winners. I've worked with captains and I don't know what the non-gendered version of, I suppose women can be captains of industry. And I've also worked with stay-at-home parents. I've yet to meet the exception to this rule. So as you scan your home, your office, wherever you might be right now, and you look around, if you think about your computer desktop or your file cabinets, 80% of that stuff you're never going to touch again. It's all just clutter. The next statistic I'm going to share with you is that the average person is interrupted by communications technology every 10 minutes. And on average, it takes 23 minutes to recover from one of those interruptions. So this is pretty simple math. 2 interruptions, 2 recoveries, that could be as much as an hour lost. If you get to the end of your day and you think, good grief, I was crazy busy today. I got nothing done. It could be because you were constantly being interrupted. You did your best to recover, but I mean, the time just goes. Then you might tell yourself one of your 200 lies, which we'll talk about in just a moment. And that could be like, now that it's quiet, I'm going to really do the real work. I'm going to do the big work. Now that everybody stopped pestering me, I can really dig in. But by then, typically you're so exhausted and tired that you might tell yourself one of your other 200 lies, which is, I'm too tired to do it today. I'm going to get up extra early tomorrow morning, and then I'm really going to tackle it until the alarm goes off. And then you think, well, maybe I'll sleep in today, but I'll stay awake a little later tonight. And you can see how that just becomes an endless merry-go-round of failed promises and lack of execution. So let's talk about the 200 lies. The average adult tells 200 lies a day. I love this statistic. Now, to be clear, probably 2/3 of them will never come out of your mouth. They'll just be things that you tell yourself, but they could come out of your mouth. It could be something like, hey, Nancy, I'm so sorry to bother you. Now, if I was sorry to bother Nancy, I wouldn't be bothering Nancy. But we use these kinds of expressions and we bend the truth because we don't want to, particularly if we're conflict averse, if we're a people pleaser, we don't want to deal with the consequences of actually saying, hey, Nancy, I'll bet you had a plan for how today was going to go, and I'm going to interrupt that now and derail it completely. I now need you to do this for me. And when that's completed, you can resume whatever it is that you had planned to do. But your day has just been torpedoed. Now, it will have the same impact on Nancy, but in the second example, I've actually acknowledged that she's not a cardboard cutout and that Nancy probably had a plan for the day, which is no longer valid. So you'll start to recognize, and if you share space with anybody, if you work with anybody, if you live with anybody, even if you have close friends, you'll start to recognize where those 200 lies crop up, and it becomes a fun game. This is not a gotcha game. We're not looking to shame anybody, but you can start to recognize, like, oh, that was one of my 200 lies. And I'll bet when Nancy comes back on, you can ask her because they've already done this. And so it becomes part of your vocabulary. It just cracks me up. So I'm planting that seed for you. The last statistic I'm going to share with you is that the average person will waste 1 year of their life looking for lost or misplaced items. Just let that settle in, right? A year of your life. Now, few people, regardless of how frugal they are, would spend an entire year looking for their mobile phone or their car keys or even their wallet, right? After a couple of days, they might contact the Secretary of State, get a new driver's license, replace the credit cards, and start to rebuild their wallet. I call this nickel and diming ourselves out of a year of our life because it's 5 minutes here, it's 10 minutes there. You'll tell yourself one of your 200 lies. I'm going to make up that lost time. But this is the thing about time. You can't make up lost time. Once you've spent it, it's gone. So if you tell yourself, I'm going to get up extra early tomorrow morning, it is 3:30 for everybody in your time zone. It's not 3:30 for you and 4 o'clock for them. This funky math, bad math is what I call it, is one of the major ways that people stay disorganized and undermine their ability to get the things done that they want to get done. So as I like to say, forewarned is forearmed. Now you have some information. We're going to talk about mindset some because as I said at the very beginning, right, how you think about, how you feel about, and how you interact with stuff is so much informed by your mindset that all of the tips and tools and strategies that I can share with you will never be implemented to their fullest level if you have faulty thinking. If you are thinking somehow that this doesn't apply to you or that you've tried everything, one of your 200 lies, you haven't tried everything that exists. You might have tried everything that you can think of or everything that you've read in a book or a magazine, but chances are it hasn't been everything that exists in the world. So you'll start to recognize again that when you're speaking in absolutes, always, never, chances are that's one of your 200 lies because few things are all or nothing. So the first thing that I want to share with you is just that everyone is born organized. Nobody came into the world with a mess. right? We've accumulated a mess over time, but nobody came here messy. It's a learned behavior, which also means that then it's a behavior that you can unlearn. So they've mapped the human genome. You aren't missing anything. You aren't damaged. You aren't broken. If you have not been successful historically in maintaining a system of organization, it doesn't mean that you're incapable of doing it. It means, first of all, probably that we haven't met each other and I haven't shared the organizational triangle with you, which I will in just a few minutes. But it just means that you haven't been successful yet. We also want to pay super attention to not building the present and the future out of our past. Right? The past informs certain things, but keeping it in the past is one of the mindset tricks, if you will, or adjustments that I'm going to encourage you to make. So that instead of talking about like, I can't get organized, in the past, I have had trouble getting organized. You want to isolate it so that you're not building it and reinforcing it in the present. And understand that what I am offering you, literally, is true freedom, the freedom to do what you want when you want. More money, more time, more intimacy, more expansiveness in your life, in your relationships. It's completely available to you. It's not magic. What I'm going to teach you is not rocket science. It might have been things that you have heard before, but maybe not exactly the way that I've explained it. It could be something that you tried before, but then you ran into a roadblock, you hit a bump on the road, and you told yourself one of your 200 lies. Oh, I'm in a time crunch now. I don't have the time to keep up this behavior. I need to go back to my old, perhaps less efficient behavior because I'm feeling the time compression. But I promise, one of your 200 lies, I promise as soon as this issue, this crisis is resolved, I'll get right back on the horse. And as we all know, anybody who's ever tried to stick with a diet or an exercise plan or any course of behavior where you're trying to change your life, if you can't make it over the bumps and the hiccups, if you can't figure out how to keep it integrated into your life, it will be the first thing that you set down. The first thing you pick up will often be the first thing that you set down. And so what we want to make sure you get is a system, which is in essence, not a system. It can't be something that's going to further complicate your life or be more that you have to manage it. It has to be the underpinning of all of your behavior throughout your day, or it's not sustainable. And that if there's a code to have cracked, I've cracked it. I've seen amazing results in people's lives. People who previously thought that they were destined to just not achieve the things that they wanted to achieve, whatever those were. So if you're thinking right now, like, oh God, that sounds amazing, but I am that exception. I'm just going to reinforce, you are not the burnt matchstick. I've yet to meet the person who can't change if you are willing to change your behavior. So enough said about that. Winners do what they have to do. Everyone else does what they want to do. So if you want to win, it's super easy. You just have to do what's required of you, which might mean before you go to bed at night, putting the dishes in the dishwasher rather than leaving them in the sink. It could be putting the mail in its home when you come home and bring the mail in. It could be putting your mobile phone in its home. It could be hanging your keys up or putting them in their dish in their home when you come home. Again, nothing is complicated and nothing takes a long amount of time, even if you have a certain amount of historic accumulation that you need to dig yourself out of, right? Even if there is physical clutter that you need to dig out of, it's relatively simple, not always easy because of story, because of our feelings and our thoughts, but not difficult. The last thing I'm going to share with you around mindset is, even though it might seem counterintuitive, if you have too much stuff, you are in a state of abundance. Even if you feel overwhelmed, you feel burdened by it, the mindset shift, this is glass half empty, glass half full. If you think about it, right? and you can tap into your gratitude, which again, I completely understand might seem counterintuitive. Like, how could I be grateful that there's too many things and I can't find what I'm looking for and I'm often frustrated? How can I be grateful for that? That's not necessarily what we're going to be grateful for. What we're going to be grateful for is the fact that we have more than we need, right? There are plenty of places in the world where I am not teaching Unstuff Your Life workshops, where people have a goat and a hut and a bowl. They do not need their lives unstuffed. They have everything that they need, and are probably lacking some of the things that we have. You don't need to feel guilty about it. You don't need to feel ashamed about it. This is not about socioeconomic privilege, because it doesn't really matter whether the stuff came from Neiman Marcus or it came from the Goodwill. Too much stuff is too much stuff. And so by softening into that, instead of trying to do battle with stuff, if you can say, thank you for being present in my life, you served me at one time, I now release you, you will see things leave much quicker than trying to beat the crap out of them. This is the thing about stuff. Stuff is inanimate. It will outlast you. You will get tired. Stuff never does. Now, let's talk about some fundamentals. All right. The first thing I'm going to share with you is just that clutter is nothing more than a series of deferred decisions. You set something down, you probably told yourself one of your 200 lies, oh, I will put that away later. And you thought you meant it when you said it, right? And then you probably set something else down on top of it, and you told yourself another one of your 200 lies. You said, oh, these things all live together. This is like good time management. I'm going to make a pile or a stack of all of these things that have something in common. And I don't have the time to deal with it now, but later I will put all of them away, and it will be easy to put them away because they all belong together, right? This is how piles and stacks and bags and bins and whatever kind of container you might be throwing around these piles and accumulation clumps are. So here's the good news, bad news, right? The good news is, because we know that probably 80% of it you're never going to use again, you could probably put most of it in the recycle bin. And again, this is where story crops up. You could be thinking, oh, that sounds amazing. I would love to just let everything go. But what if there's something really important in that pile? Now you'll tell yourself another one of your 200 lies. I swear to God, I will only touch them one more time, but I have to look at them one more time just to make sure that I'm not going to get rid of anything really important. And then I will let it go, because I tend to agree with you, Andrew. I think that probably 80% of the stuff that I'm holding on to, I don't need. I just don't want to get rid of the wrong 80% and have some of the good 20% be mixed in there. Look, it could be that that there is something super special and valuable in those piles. And only you will know that, right? If it is your living will, if it's the title to your car or the deed to your home, your great-grandmother's antique engagement ring, by all means, you should go and find it, right? But if it is, in fact, a recipe for lemongrass creme brulee that you ripped out of a Martha Stewart 3 years ago, thinking, oh, this sounds like a delicious dessert I should make for a dinner party that you've never thrown, that could end up in the recycle bin and nobody would miss it. And if and when you ever decided that you did want to make lemongrass creme brulee, you could go on Epicurious or on the internet anywhere and probably Google lemongrass creme brulee and get at least a dozen, if not more, recipe hits within 30 seconds. So the quality of your life will not be negatively impacted by that thing ending up in the recycle bin. So now when I talk about story, right, anybody here old enough to remember Dragnet? You can raise your hand if you're on camera. Excellent, right? So remember Joe Friday? He would show up on people's doorsteps and he would say, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. That's what he was looking for. We want to be channeling our inner Joe Friday. And if you're too young to remember Dragnet, you can Hulu it or watch it on YouTube. It was a great detective show. But even if you don't know Joe Friday, right, you might know the current version of Sherlock Holmes, or even Luther over on the BBC. The detective is immaterial. The idea is we want to be channeling our own inner detective. We're looking for the facts, not the story. The story is going to trip us up. The facts are never going to trip us up. And so when I'm talking about story, these are the kinds of things that I'm referencing, right? There isn't enough time. There is enough time when we know what's important. If we don't know what's important, there will never be enough time. I don't know where to start. Sometimes people genuinely are confused. A lot of times people are telling one of their 200 lies when they say, I don't know where to start. They're thinking, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. They both seem unpleasant. Maybe if I wait long enough, one of them will just, become obsolete and I can just throw it away without having to make an active decision. Then you can tell yourself another one of your 200 lies. See, I always end up with the short end of the stick. My friends, everybody seems to get what they want. I get the leftovers and the dregs. How come that keeps happening to me? You didn't make a choice. That's how it happened to you. You sat in your supposed confusion and didn't make a choice. So we'll address the difference between real confusion and feigned confusion. And the last one that I'll share with you today, we'll go over more of these when we're in the class together, is other people are worse than me. Now, I showed you some pictures of some people who have some serious challenges when it comes to stuff. Let's be clear, this has never been and never will be a race to the bottom. So you don't get bonus points for being better than the worst person you can imagine, right? If you've got that friend, Susie, who's always 15 minutes late, and everybody has to tell her, when you want to meet at 5 o'clock, everybody tells her, be there at 4:30, because then you've got that cushion and you know that she'll roll in sometime between 4:45 and 5 o'clock. She'll actually be early, but you have to play games with her to trick her into showing up on time. Right? You being better than Susie does not make you good at something. We've got a higher bar than that. It's important, as I said, right? When you don't know what's important, there will never be enough time. So it is important to know what your core values are. As part of the program the class that I'm teaching, we're going to do a set of core value exercises. They're not cumbersome. They'll take about 20 or 25 minutes of your time, but it's super important to know what is important to you, really, not vaguely, right? Not a story of like, well, my family's important to me. If you've ever been late, if you ever missed an opportunity to do something, or said, hey, just one more minute, just one more email that I have to answer this email, or anything like that has ever happened, in that moment, what you thought was important to you wasn't as important as you ended up spending your time doing. So these are great exercises to ground you in the facts, so that every time you are at one of those pivotal points trying to make a decision about anything from, should I be doing this or this? Should I be keeping this or letting this go? You can return to your core values and they will never let you down, and they will always be helpful. Now, I'm aware that I am speaking in absolutes, and it's been true that they will always serve you when it comes time to make a decision. They will be very useful for information. Now, when it comes to getting and staying organized, these are your new best friends, a timer and a stopwatch. I'm going to suggest that you stop working in narrative goals, meaning I'm going to work on this until I'm finished, and start working in timed increments. As a rule, I suggest not working for less than 15 minutes or more than 3 hours. But it's super helpful to be able to quantify how long you're working, so you know 15 minutes is 15 minutes. When the timer goes off, you know you achieved what you set out to do because the timer went off, right? If you say, I'm going to go in the garage and I'm going to work until I'm finished, and you don't finish, you're already feeling beat up the next time you walk into the garage. Failure breeds failure, success breeds success. So we want to move you to math-based goals so that you always achieve success. And as I said before, right, there is enough time for what's important. Remember, for those of us who have seen The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy got those shoes within the first 20 minutes of the movie. It was only in the last 2 minutes of the movie that Glinda showed up and said, oh, if you want to go home, just click your heels 3 times. You got the shoes on your feet. Did I not tell you that? So The good news is we all have a pair of ruby slippers on our feet when it comes to being able to distinguish urgent from important. And we're just going to figure out how to use that in non-critical moments, right? When the house isn't literally on fire. It'll be much easier for us to determine what should stay and what should go when we are using our own internal ruby slippers. Value is not guaranteed. So if you're sitting on a bunch of things and you are waiting to sell them and you do not know how to time the market, you need to understand that it takes two people for something to have value. You as the person who has it and the other person who agrees with you, who's going to write you a check for what you think it's worth. Otherwise, you have a thing and a story, right? So, and we'll talk more about this when we get into the class. I also want you to think about this. As you start to pull things apart, it will get bigger. It will eventually get better, but it will get bigger first. I just want to plant that seed so you're not surprised when you start to rip out the junk drawer and you discover, oh my God, how did all this stuff fit in that drawer? It seems like it's grown, exponentially. No, it's the same amount of things. It's just once you disentangle them and spread them out, they look like they take up more space. They haven't. Remember, forewarned is forearmed. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't have a calendar with a someday on it, and neither do you. If you have been scheduling things like you're organizing or you're spring cleaning for someday, you might as well say never. It's one of your 200 lies. Every task has a beginning and an end. That's what makes it a task. And I've showed you an example of the laundry because it's just a very easy example to get. The end of doing the laundry is not a basket of clean clothes on your bedroom floor. So when the basket is empty, put back on top of the dryer and all the clothes are in their cupboards. That's the full arc of the task. Often we don't get and stay organized because we haven't finished the task. We haven't finished putting the laundry away. We've just left it laying on the bedroom floor. All of these things are things that we'll address in the class. I'm going to share the organizational triangle with you, and then I'm going to give you a quick preview of what else we're going to cover in the class, and then you can ask me some questions. So this is the organizational triangle, and you can repeat after me, even though I can't hear you. And these are the only 3 rules that you need to know to get and stay organized. One home for everything, like with like, and something in, something out. One more time, one home for everything, like with like, and something in, something out. The first 2 legs of the triangle, one home for everything and like with like, are how we get organized. Something in, something out is how we stay organized. That's all you need to know. And we're going to teach you that over and over again and show you how to use that in every possible way in your life as we go forward. Now, one home for everything means one home for everything. Everything has only one home. So your keys can have a different home than my keys have, but your keys will have a home. My keys do have a home. They can only ever be one of 2 places, unlocking something or in our hands in their home. It's guaranteed you'll find anything in 30 seconds or less if you use this rule and like with like, which just means all like objects live together, not most of them. We don't keep most of the tools in the toolbox, but we keep the screwdriver in the junk drawer in the kitchen. We put all the tools together, one home for everything, and like with like, you'll find anything in 30 seconds or less. Something in, something out is all about once everything is in its home, all of its siblings are together, you are organized, you're done. That's it. You are organized. At that point, all we're trying to do is not accumulate more things. So when something comes in, something's going out. And I don't set those rules about what enough is, you do. So if you have a big walk-in closet and you have enough room for 100 pairs of shoes, you can have 100 pairs of shoes. I'm not going to tell you every person's only allowed to have 20 pairs of shoes. You can have as much as the space will hold. You can't have more because it won't fit. It's a very simple rule and it's very easy to apply. The last thing I'm going to share with you is that when everything is precious, nothing is precious. I was helping a client clean out her grandmother's house on Long Island in New York. We came across 2 silver objects. This is another reference that some people will get more than others. Under the kitchen sink was a ball of aluminum foil because Grandma had lived through the Great Depression. We also found a sterling silver tea set. Now, had we stopped right there, right? 2 silver objects, both came from Grandma. Grandma's gone. We should keep them both, right? Of course not. The ball of aluminum foil ended up in the recycle bin. The sterling silver tea set was sold at auction for $22,000. So clearly, we can tell the difference between trash and treasure. We can tell the difference between what is precious and what isn't precious if we just bring our thinking to bear on it. Now, this is a quick preview of, there's so much that we're going to cover. I mean, look at what we've covered in about 35 minutes together. I can't even tell you what we're going to go, the depths that we're going to cover in 5 weeks together, but this is a high level sliding across the surface of what is in store for you when you join us for the class. We're going to deal with papers and filing. How many of you have papers and filing that you need to deal with, whether it's your tax documents or any other papers? Papers are the #1 thing that keep people confused, disorganized, overwhelmed. We're going to look at your pantry and your kitchen. We're going to look at your clothes closets. We're going to look at all your storage spaces, from your entryway, again, to all of your closets, to your garage if you have a garage, your attic, your basement if you have attics and basements, to home offices, to even offsite storage. If you have offsite storage, you might as well just walk out to your driveway and set your money on fire. You're just paying money for somebody else's piece of real estate, and the things that are there you're never going to use again. Certainly if it's offsite storage like this, right? I mean, fine art storage, fine antique storage is one thing, but you store them kinds of places, that stuff, the average, I think the average length of a lease there is 22 months. So imagine paying $100 or $200 a month for 22 months. Is what's in there worth more than $4,500 or $4,600? And how likely is it that you're going to go get it again? We're going to talk about sentimental objects and heirlooms. We're going to talk about estate planning. We've even got a bonus guide for you that's going to help you clean up your email inbox. And I'm going to share with you the perfect recipe for a password so you will never forget your password again. It's 5 weeks. I teach them live, just like this. We're together for an hour every week for 5 weeks, and they are recorded. So not only if you miss one of them, you can watch it, but even if you were there live, you can still watch it as often as you want. It's available to you so that you can 24/7, you can access it. So you just have to ask yourself, like, what can we accomplish together in 5 weeks? And really, it's for less than $25 a month if you're not a member of the La Jolla Community Center. If you are a member, it's even less expensive. So here's the link to sign up for the class. Just go to ljcommunitycenter.org/series, and you'll see the page right there. And I invite you, if this sounds like something you'd like to do, to come and play with us and join us for 5 weeks. We'll have a great time. You will be amazed at what you will accomplish. And we have a few minutes now for some questions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can all see each other a little better. And ask me anything you'd like to know. I'm right here.
Thank you, Andrew. There's a question in the chat. Where are you geographically located? If you don't mind sharing.
I don't. I'm in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then Miriam asked, or she just said, thanks for mentioning this. And I think she was referring to the gratitude slide with, or the abundance slide with the monk. So sure. She just said, thank you. But if anybody has a question, please feel free to either use the chat or you can unmute and ask Andrew directly.
Yep.
Would anybody like to ask a question? Let's see, I don't. Okay, everybody's quiet today. I don't see.
Nothing on your mind? Got everything you needed this morning?
It sounds like, or it seems like it.
Nancy, I'd like to make a comment.
Ask something. How does it get a book from the bottom of the stack? Oh, it's actually, that's so funny, Joan. This is, this bookcase has shelves built into it. So there's only ever this many books that I'm interacting with at the time. See, all of these are shelves. This isn't a tower of books. It's actually a bookshelf. So it's very easy to actually interact with it.
I was just going to make a comment.
Yes, go ahead.
to the folks. My name's Barbara Graff. I'm the marketing director at the community center, and I did take Andrew's 5-week class. I got a great deal out of it. I'm still working with an organizer. One of the things that was really helpful, besides all his great insights and suggestions in his book as well, was an accountability partner. And I worked with a gentleman I didn't know in San Francisco, and it was amazing to work with another person with Andrew's suggestions through 5 weeks and beyond. And I found myself kind of wanting to be accountable both to Andrew in a sense and to my partner. And so every week when we would connect, I would say, well, what have you done in your kitchen? And we would share stories and post items that we've done, and, you know, the clutter and the declutter. It was completely moving me because I was frozen when I first signed up for his class. So I shared that, and then I followed up with, you know, more organizing on a local level, somebody that came into my home. But just lots of tidbits, lots of nuggets that I wouldn't have thought of on how to get rid of things, basically. My entire office has now been cleaned out. I have my upstairs attic, you can walk through it. I've gotten rid of, you know, too many bras, believe it or not, and shoes. I've got a lot of stuff that went out the door, and just wanted to give a plug again for Andrew and the system.
Oh, thanks, Barbara. So if there's if there aren't any other questions, we can call it a day. And if anything comes up, you can certainly send Nancy an email at the center, and she can pass it on to me. But remember, if you want to join us, it's ljcommunitycenter.org. It's where you signed up for this free class /series, and you'll find the registration links right there. Of course, if you are a member of the community center, you'll get a discount. And if you're not yet a member, you might want to consider becoming a member. Part of your registration fee to join the community center would be recaptured in your fee for the class. So anything else, Nancy, we want to share with the folks?
That was all. Thank you so much, Andrew. Really appreciate you being here with us. Thank you for all for participating. I hope that you come back and sign up for the course. And we will be sending this recording out to all of you who signed up, so you can rewatch, hopefully consider signing up for the course, and you can send it out to others who might be interested. So thank you so much for being here today. And thank you, Andrew, again. When we'll be in touch. Have a great day, everyone. Stay safe, and hope to see you soon.